Welcome to the Raw Experience with Chris, where honesty is at the forefront of every video.
All right, here we are. Another day, another dollar. We're back and another printer to review and to unbox, so let's get into it. Another multicolor printer, Core XY, being sent to me, so we better get underway and get it unboxed. Yep, there it is, the Flashforge AD5X. Let's get out of the box and see what it's all about. All right, so we've got here, we've got a manual. We have, oh, here we go, it's pretty flashy. What do we got? How to install the screen, that's fine. And we have a nice little flashy envelope, actually quite unique. And I'm pretty sure the manual's in there, so we'll get the box out, we'll get the manual out, I'll have a look at that in a second. All right, I think I'm gonna have to throw this on the ground again and then lift it out of the box. So we'll do that. Some foam. Some more foam, and we'll just piff him over there. Come on, out you come. Up we go. All right, that's that part done. I'll see you next week. Nah, I'm only kidding, I already pulled that one before in the last video. All right. Open him up. So, this is going to be the AD5X, which is Flashforge's new, I suppose you'd call it at-home DIY 4-color multicolor printer that comes as a Core XY user interface, touchscreen with 4 colors that mount externally. The X standing for the X on the side, which means the 4 cross-facing, cornered, the way it mounts. And you can actually get an enclosure for this that has the paneling on the side, just like the AD5M, the Flashforge 5M, where you can print your own custom enclosures, and then it has a top housing as well. So that's something we'll do as well in another video. It does have a poop chute at the rear, which is quite handy, as we can see. It's got a poop chute, so that's good as well. Good old poop chutes, and we've got an Ethernet port at the back, mains and power, and by the looks of it, we've got some kind of tensioning screw, which we'll probably find out. I'm not sure if that's a Wi-Fi antenna port or not. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Looks like we're gonna have the same screen mount as the AD5M series. So anyway, let's keep going with that. We've got our power lead, and we've got our accessories container, which has got our pliers, which you don't usually get a lot of pliers these days, which is quite strange. Back in the day, every printer you got had a pair of these, which are best pliers you can get. So for cutting filament, we've got our little screws. I think that's our filament guide of some kind. We've got some lube for the tube. So we've got some wear protection grease. We've got our Allen key set, which comes in a little holder, which is quite good, and a little screwdriver. I've actually got the other screwdriver that's the same from the 5M series, and I love this stuff. The 5M 3D printing adhesive. That's some good stuff right there. I've still got mine from the 5M, and I think I've only just got, what have I got? I think I've got half a tube left. Let's have a look. Yep, I've got half a tube left, so this lasts a long time, so quite happy with that. So thank you Flashforge for including that in the accessories pack. And this is probably one of the most robust filament unblockers that you can get, which is good. So that's that, that's the accessories. So yeah, all right, keep going. We could be reading the manual trying to work out how to get all this out, but we're not going to. That's got to be unscrewed so we can get the monitor out by the looks of it. So we'll have to get our Allen keys out, all ready to rock and roll. So that's going to be quite handy. This little set comes in quite handy. I've got the longer ones, but I find the short ones be a little bit easier to handle and get into tight spaces. So we're just going to unmount that. Now, from what I can see, that's going to come out, and it's attached already. So we need to work out where that's going to go. So maybe we should look at the manual before we take that off. How to install the display, unmount the hinge, flip out and take out the display screen, then follow directions and the arrows. Okay, no worries. All right, so I was hoping to get this foam out straight off the bat, but it looks like we're going to have to play around with this monitor, this screen first. So let's do that, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the unboxing, I suppose you'd say. Unboxing perspective, it's not the most ideal thing, but it is what it is. Okay, so it flips up. Okay, so this is bracket's got to come off. Makes sense. Christos, what are you doing? Wasting time not thinking about what you're doing. I'm really looking forward to using this AD5X. It's been something I've been waiting on, talking backwards and forwards with a couple of the reps from Flashforge since November, December 2024. So yeah, it has been some time. Now it does have the port on the, just like the 5M, the same, I believe it's the same camera that mounts in here. So I just ordered the LED light, which I ordered for the Flashforge 5M, which I have behind me down the bottom of the rack. But it looks like I'm gonna have to order another light, another camera. So it's a bit of a pain that I don't include that. It is what it is, so you can't really complain. Let's just slot that in there, get him in there somehow if we can. There we go, that's on. All right, now we can pull the foam out, which is about time. Oh, there we go, what's that there? Aha, so we've got a drawer, pull that out. Oh, I've got some goodies in there. Come back to that. So a bit of foam, handball. What have we got here? We've got some sample filaments, nice colors too. Nice bright pinks and yellows and blues and whites, I like that, that's good. And we've got our PDFE tube. That's a nice splitter from 1 to 4, which is good. Keep in mind this only goes up to 4 colors. You know, like most multicolor prints, a lot of them mostly are 4 colors. That's the buffer head, quite compact. We've got our mounting plates for our spools, so let's get all this out. Our little plug, and we've got our numbered filament spool heads as well. So well, that looks pretty nice. Spring loaded too. So we've got spring loaded filaments. So I'll bring that over and have a look. So spring loaded. You can see that. A little light for you. So spring loaded. So that's nice and pressurized. There's little buffer pads on there too, so that's quite handy. So that's going to be a nice spring-loaded buffer to fit different size internal spools, which is good. That's something that I haven't seen mentioned. All right, can't wait to get this going actually. It looks quite unique in its build, which is quite good. Handball that out the way. Pull this one out, nothing in there. Handball. Now straight off the bat, I can see the build plate looks almost identical as the 5M. So does the head of the extruder, although I know the extruder and the hot end are unique to themselves. I did get one spare shipped out as well. Quite a unique hot end. It's a flat copper heatsink alloy design. So I'll give you a close up of that one as well. You can see that. So it's labeled 0.4 on the back. You can see that. Nozzle itself has a Allen key plate. So the heatsink is split and then pressed against the copper, which is actually wrapped over the nozzle. Quite a unique design. So there's that one. So yeah, quite unique that one. So yeah, we'll have a look at that when we open her up. Have a look at the extruder as well. The build plate's the same by the looks of it, which I like these build plates. They've got the handle at the front and they're universal. You can flip them side to side, which is quite good. Looks pretty good. Once again, you've got, it's a Core XY printer with 4 rods and 3 lead screws. So most Core XY printers will have 3 lead screws, which this has, but most of them will only have 2 rods at the front, stainless rods at the front, running off bearings, linear bearings, and then 1 at the back, whereas this has got 2 at the back. So I think that's a good idea because it then enables, when the lift, because the back's only lifting up off of 1 lead screw, it doesn't enable the back to come off center so much. That's a good thing to see. We'll get this put together and then we'll go over it and plug it in and see how she goes. Yes, first off, so we've got the normal screws we need to undo. The bottom of the build plate, I'll just move the camera around so we can see up close. All right, one of the things you can make sure you do to make sure we get the Allen key screws, which are holding the base of the build plate down. So you've got 1, 2, only 3 on this one, which is good. The Anycubic S1 I did last week had, I think, 8. 3 is better. That's good. So that's that. There's 3 here. So you've got 1 basically where each lead screw is, 1 on each side at the front and 1 at the back to the left-hand side. So we go from there and start our calibrations and testing. What I can tell, there isn't any grease on the linear rails. No grease on the rails. So that's something to keep in mind, is to make sure that you put the grease, the tube grease, the white grease, on the linear rods, on the carriage and on the actual build plate rods as well. So that's that. Okay, there is a release section. I don't know if you can see that. Flip around the other way. We have a catch. That must be a catch to tell the actual head that it's a X-axis or Y-axis stop, sensor stop. So that's something different. Alright, hoop shoots at the back on a spring-loaded mechanism, and there's a brush at the back as well. I think that's metal, so that's different too. That's got a metal catch too. So we flip that over. You can see in there it's got a metal catch with a silicone brush there as well. So that's that one. What we'll do now is we'll flip it around to the side. We'll put our 4 mounting hubs on, and then we'll put our buffer hub on as well. At the back, you can see there's a poop chute at the back there. It does have a spot for what looks to be 2 filters. Behind the build plate at the back, there'll be a position for a fan, which there is. I can see, looking down through into the back there, I can see that behind this point here, on the back there, there is a position for this to be unscrewed and a fan for an exhaust fan to come out through there, and there'll be 2 filter, I'd say HEPA filters that can go in there. So that's something that's an add-on extra. So the thing to keep in mind with this so far, as we can see, is the add-on extras so far are the camera, which is an optional extra, the LED light, which is an optional extra, and the 2 HEPA filters, which are basically like a filament filter that go in behind, and the base fan goes in the back. So I'll have to check the manual and the wiki page on Flashforge to make sure that, I know some of the times you can't always have the exhaust fan with the LED and camera. I'm not sure, it depends on the motherboard or the main board as to how many terminal points it has to enable that, to have them all running at once. So hopefully that's all good. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll get the hubs on the side. They've given us some sample colours, which are nice bright colours. We'll probably use them just to run our test. I do have some Flashforge PLA Pro in purple and silver and a couple other colours as well, so we'll definitely use that for the Flashforge test. We'll pop them in the side, we'll put our hubs on, and we'll get cracking, get straight into it. So pretty straightforward setup, and obviously, like the other printer that I've, with the other Flashforges, it will have flash print, Flashforge Orca. Now these are numbered and 4, so we can mount them on. Okay, that's 1, 2 and 2. So 2 goes at the bottom. Alright, 1, I mean they're just numbered. I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter where you put them, but I do like these so far, the feel of them. Well, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so they're spring loaded, which is great. I like that. That's good. I like that. Okay. Now we've got our adapter plate, which we need to put on here so we can mount our buffer hub, which is this here. I'm pretty sure that just goes that way, like that. So we'll pop him on there. So far, so good. I'm looking forward to installing the enclosure and printing. I did a Lakers design. If you want to check out my other video on my Flashforge AD5M, I did a Lakers style print with the purple and yellow Lakers. So yeah, this one's going to has a riser as well built into it, which is for the obviously the PDFE tubes. So we'll lock that in, make sure that's nice and locked in well. All right, now we can add our buffer hub. That's going to go straight in there. Now, obviously these here PDFE tubes, from what I can see, it does have a thread lock on there, so you can lengthen these if you want to. That there, and voila. Okay, that's that. Now we've got our hub connector, serial data cable, I suppose you call it. Alright, so that plugs in there. We'll spin it around so we can see. That plugs in there like that. We've got our hub, so we've got to put that on as well. Our PDFE. The port for this is at the back. And we do actually have a, flip it in there like so, like that. And we do actually have a tube. So we have a guide tube, a guide clip for that as well. So that's for that there. So that's going to go like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that works with the riser and how that ties in to there. So I'm just going to give that a bit more slack. I think that needs a bit more. And that goes on there as well. So we'll pop him on, and then we'll get the PDFE tube on the top, plug it into the extruder. Pretty easy build. I'll give it to Flashforge for that. The process for putting it together, quite good. I think probably the most pain in the butt part of it will be putting the actual riser and hit through it. Just going to leave that somewhat a little bit, not too tight, just in case I need to move that around. Okay, happy with that. Alright, so now we want to put this in. Okay, so this has got an alignment screw on it. So there's an alignment tab, fling that around. There's an alignment screw just in there. You can see that. And that's got to line up with this as well. So we'll pop that on. So that just presses in by the looks of it. Yep, oh, that clips in nicely, like that. So that's locked in there even without the screw. So that's handy to know. Alright, now we want to feed our tubes in. Now, I don't think that it's going to be an issue which way we feed them, but we will anyway. Now we'll get our plug them in. Alright. So, hold on. There is a LAN port at the back, which is good. And Curious to see what it's like when you unplug, when you take the back panel off, see what the board is inside. Okay, power's on. Alright, so let's run through the startup menu. So we'll just pull this off so we can get a better look at the screen. Alright, so obviously we want English. Please confirm little packaging materials and device. Yes, they have been. Next, Wi-Fi on. Alright, now we've got our internet. Yeah, it's broken. That'll do well. And come on, there we go. Alright, now it's going to home, level, and do its calibration testing to make sure that the printer's all lined up and leveled off. So we'll let it go through that and we'll come back and go from there. Okay, so editing the spools is quite simple. Just going to click on our spool, click edit, filament type. As you can see, we've got PLA, ABS, PETG, TPU, PLA, carbon fiber, PETG, carbon fiber, and silk. So, you know, right off the bat, one would say it's not an exorbitant range of filaments that from the factory it can print, but that's more than adequate for most people who are going to be 3D printing. I, for myself, do a fair bit of ABS. That covers ASA as well. Obviously, doesn't list nylon and those sort of filaments, but for most part, that's pretty good. So we'll just select PLA. Our color range is quite good. They've almost filled the whole panel. That's good to see. So for number one, we're just going to go with pink. Now, obviously, you're not going to get the perfect color, but that's fine. Click OK, and then we want to click on the next one. Number two, click edit. Same again, PLA, color. It goes in order, it goes down and then up. So that's white for that one. Okay. Number three, edit, PLA, color is, what do we got? Red. Okay. And number four. Now, obviously, this is, you know, you can change this in the slicer and then you can cross this over. It's neither here or there. It's not a necessity, but either way. Alright, so that's that part done. We've done our calibrations and click next. Now, I will say that it's the same screen from the AD5M series. Hot end temperature, bed temperature. It's going to be preheating as well. So it's now going to be printing its test model. It did not come with a USB, so it's obviously already in the software. So it's programmed to print a test model once you load the 4 spools or the 4 lots of filament that you receive with it, if you did get 4 spools extra. So we can click on here. We can see it's got 13 layers. I dare say it's probably going to be a benchy of some kind or a rocket or something like that. Let's have a look through here. We can see what we can get. Oh, there we go. So on board, we've got an Orca plug PLA. So we've got a test cube. What we can see, we've also got an earphone holder of some sorts. So a headphone holder of some sorts. We have a benchy boat, we have a multicolored fish, and we have a Flashforge symbol. It does have a USB port on the side, so you can load that. Go back into our filaments, you've got your spools there. Settings, we can set our heights, go back into our Wi-Fi, and then we've got our calibrations as well. So then we can go into here, we can see if it's been used. I haven't connected the internet yet, so I haven't done an update. See if there is any. IFS odometer. So, oh, there you go. So that should count the rolling sequence of how much filament's being pushed through the system. So that's an interesting way of looking at it. We can change our nozzle sizes, and we'll go for the nozzle as well. So that's the screen setup. Basically the same as the AD5M series, although obviously it's included, and you can obviously edit that and change the speeds from there as well by pressing. So that's the screen. Pretty straightforward. All right, so let's run some tests, and we'll see how we go from there. All right, well, here we are, guys. We've got the AD5X in front of us. We've got a few things done to it. I've put some upgrades into it. Well, basically, I've just gotten the bare bones chassis of the AD5X, and I've added all the little things you can do to get it rocking, except for the enclosure. We'll talk about that a bit after. So, basically, what have we got and what do I think about it? So, obviously, we've got a Core XY printer, as I mentioned before. We've got an IFS style system, so it's a unit that's a feeding system. I haven't taken it apart to have a look inside, although I probably will. It has 4 side mounted slide on. I'll just pop one off like so, and they're spring loaded sort of, I wouldn't say the same, but it's a similar type design to the system that's from Bamboo Lab, in a way that it's got the spring-loaded side spool holders, which is a good concept, but it's Flashforge's own concept, and I quite like them. They're quite good. The only problem you do have is some of the cardboard spools can be a little bit hard to get on and off. So that's that. I do actually like the way that's been done, so I'm happy with that. Apart from that, obviously you've got, I'll just put that back on, there we go. So you've got a 4.3-inch touchscreen, I'm pretty sure. What else have we got? 4.3-inch touchscreen. I'm not really good at remembering all the specs, but we'll just go through it anyway. I've got all my tech with me, so we can go through it. It'll print PLA, PLA Plus, PETG, PETG carbon fiber, PLA carbon fiber, TPU D46, I think it's called, and ABS and ASA. Now, it's not going to go and print all the things we want to do in engineering grade materials, but that's not what it's designed to do. It's designed at the entry level or budget consumer to get into 4-color, multicolor printing on a Core XY level, which means more accuracy than a Cartesian bed slinger, which is ideal. It also has a magnetic front cover that's easily detachable off the extruder with a dual metal gear drive system. It has a quick hot end swap system. Now, not the same as the original 5M series, which you'll see right there. Basically, if we zoom in, we can have a bit of a quick look. You can see right there, that's the, whoop, I just dropped one out the box. So you can see right there we go, live on camera. You can see right there, we've got the original ones right there, and now we have this style here, which is an all-inclusive heatsink and brass nozzle enclosure. Simply flip that open, and it's magnetized together, and that's our, whoop-de-doo, there's our all-inclusive hot end there. Now, that's one of the reasons why you can't print some of the higher grade engineering materials, because the nozzle being a brass or copper coated, not quite sure. Anyway, basically pop that back in there. Can be, when they're not mounted, they're a bit finicky, so it makes it a bit difficult. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why you can't print those materials. We'll zoom back out. That's one of the reasons why you can't print those materials, but that's okay because that's not what it's designed to do. So, what else is good about this system? Well, I can tell you about this. You can get your print nozzles in 0.25, 0.4, 0.6 and 0.8, which is great. What's in the box? What do you get? Well, obviously you get the printer, you get the spool mounts, the IFS system. It's all inclusive, so you don't have to buy another AMS A system, CFS system, whatever you want to call it. Basically, the printer itself, as a 5X printer, it'll come with the full 4 spools straight out of the box. So you know that when you're buying the 5X, you're getting a 4-color printer straight away. Now, as far as open frame design, you can actually get an enclosure that you can buy as a kit, and I have that just here, and that is the kit right there. Bada bing, bada bang. So there's the AD5X Flashforge kit, and that contains all the little nuts and screws and the Perspex clear paneling, and that enables you to build the enclosure. Now, you do have to print the components yourself. As I did in one of my previous videos, I printed a LA Lakers style enclosure. Although with this style enclosure for the AD5X, it is a lot taller, because if you want to print those filaments that it can print that are a little bit more higher temperatures and don't like that open frame cold air coming in and affecting the printing and flow rate and the build plate heat, then you have to have the enclosure, and it's coming up to about this height here. I'll put a picture on the screen right there, and basically the enclosure, PDFE tubes feeding through the side, and it's fully enclosed. You do have to print all the side walls and pieces themselves, and that's the base enclosure that you can build. There are, at the moment, I'm not sure if they're working on more, there are 2 custom enclosures you can build. There's Adventures of Alice in Wonderland enclosure, and which is quite technical. It has chess pieces and a bunny rabbit and a few other things on there, and a teapot, so it actually comes out. It's a real big designer piece. And there's also a volcanic lava design that looks like a rock with lava, little crevices through it. So quite unique. I'm not sure if they're going to come out with more. I hope they do. Myself personally, I'm working with Flashforge in the fact that I'm actually working on a design, military themed design, and that's why you'll see in a moment I have a lot of Battlefield 6 prints on the test bed here, and that's because I've not only going with a military style theme, so I'm remodeling one of their designs into an urban camouflage style, fully enclosure for the 5X, and I'm also incorporating the Battlefield 5/6 release that's coming out for those of you who are into gaming, and that's the reason why I've done the Battlefield 6 logos, which we'll have a look in a second as well. Also printed some other smaller models so we can check out how much detail you can get out of just even using a 0.4 nozzle. You can also do, what do we got? TP, as I mentioned before, TPU64D. So 36 times faster, it's claiming. What else? Its overall build volume is 448, and that's without the enclosure. The interface on the screen, as you would have seen before, as I did the time-lapse review, or time-lapse overview interface, is okay. I wouldn't say it's anything adventurous or fantastic, but it works, and you know, it's got all the necessity settings that you would need out of it on there. It does have Wi-Fi, it does have 5G, which is great. Connectivity is not a problem at all. It's based, the Core XY system is based on linear rods themselves that don't need lubrication, so they say, as their dry bearing sleeve. I don't know if that's always the case, because they do supply grease, or what they call dry grease, or white grease, in a lot of the printers that have these linear rail rods. So it's sort of up in the air. Some will say yes, some will say no. As far as what you get and what you don't get, so you don't get the camera for video monitoring, although at this stage the software that I know of, including the Flashprint and Orca Flashforge, which I've used both. Flashprint's a very simple, I suppose, entry-level variant of similar to, say, Creality Cloud Slicer. You basically load the model in, you've got some basic settings, and you just hit print, stock profiles ready to go. It works quite well, although for the more experienced users, you do have Orca Flashforge. And then on top of that, it is not a closed unit, so the firmware source itself can also be utilized in the full Orca slicer as well. So that's a good thing as well. But like I said, you don't get the camera, so you have to purchase that separately. Pretty sure it's a 720p camera. It's not the best, but like most Core XY printers these days, they're never the best. They're trying to make them as small as possible, and just how it works. You don't get the LED light system built in, as you see there I've got mounted. It doesn't come with a rear extraction fan or filtration system, so those are extra add-ons you have to do. So when you purchase these are currently going for, if I look at the price list in the US and Australia, in Australia they're going for $649 AUD. Now there are coupon codes and sales around that. If you check my description below, you'll see a promo code for a discount there, and an affiliate link which you can click on, which will help the channel out. That'll help immensely, because I just get a small commission, and that just helps me be able to produce more videos and get more raw, honest videos out to you guys. So if you can do that, click the link in below, and if you do like or want to get an ADX5, that would help me out a lot. But moving forward, like I said, $649. If you shop around or use the discount codes below, you can get them for around $599. Now with the US site, it's going to be $461.97 USD, which is quite a unique price or number, I would say, $461.97. Now you can use a code with that, where you'll get up to between $30 and $50 off. Much the same with the Australian website. I'll have the US and AU sites listed with the promo codes and links as well. It does utilize a poop chute system. You can use both the prime tower or the poop chute system itself. It does have two linear rod guide rails with a single lead screw Z-axis for the rear build plate, and a single linear rod and Z-axis for both the left and right front axis of the build plate. The build plate itself is 5 millimeters, reinforced off a steel base plate structure with a magnetic adhesive bed, and comes with a gold PEI flexi texture build plate, which is great. It works well, and on top of that you get your little Allen keys, you get your filament deblocker, and of course, as always, you get the famous Flashforge 3D printing adhesive. I love this stuff. I think it's fantastic. People say just wash your build plate with soap and water and don't touch it. Well, when you're printing as much as I do, or much as what anyone else does, it's very difficult not to always touch the build plate, because sometimes you need to get the pieces off. And I don't like to wash my build plate all the time because I think it's pain. So Flashforge have this liquid 3D printing adhesive, which I actually adore. I think it's fantastic. And because it's liquid, it doesn't leave any residue on the prints. It binds the build plate beautifully, and whether it's a textured plate or a flat plate, you never have any problems, and I'm guaranteed never to have any prints, whether they're ABS, ASA, PETG, PLA, whatever, to ever come away or break away from the build plate, which is fantastic. Now that leads me to another thing. When you do upgrade the camera on this printer, at the moment the software itself can be monitored remotely via the Flashforge FlashPrint app. Now that's great. I'll bring that up myself. It's called FlashMaker, and you can get that on Android or Apple. Now the only problem with that is you can go into them, and you can, what they do from the app itself, you can remote control multiple printers. Now that's great for a print farm, so you can basically load all the files, you can hit print, 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 and you'll remotely send 6 printers on their way. Now one thing that you can't do, or it doesn't have yet in the system, is it doesn't have any type of AI interface where it monitors the print and detects any errors. So it will not pause any errors, or will not stop if there's any errors in the build itself as it's printing. So that's neither here or there, because it's dependent on whether or not you agree with some of that software, because I know from previous printers that I've tested that the AI software either doesn't work or doesn't fully work and has errors. So I'm yet to come across one that is fully operational. Creality had one which I was using, and then they updated with their new CFS system, and now it detects a shadow. So even if there's a shadow on the build plate, it'll say that there's something on the build plate when it's not, so I've just turned it off. So that said, you know, that's neither here or there. It does give you the ability to remote monitor your prints, which I think is still fantastic. Like me, if you send a print, you know, you start a print before you go to bed, you can roll over in your bed and you can check your print and go, yeah, it's all good, go back to sleep. So that's great. The other thing you can do with it, and that plugs in directly behind the screen, just like the 5M series printers do as well. You can also mount an LED, which is sold separately once again, and you basically go to the Flashforge wiki page and you can print your bracket. Now, it does instruct you to mount the bracket for the LED light at the front. There's 2 mounted holes there which you can slot it up into. I actually found, though, because it sits directly behind the screen, that with this particular model, the actual 4-stage PDFE tube head that is mounted to the top of the extruder casing, or the print head casing, when it does its homing and bed leveling and checks all the corners and axes of the print bed, it does collide with the LED light. Now that frame design, or for the LED light bracket design, was initially designed for the 5M series and 5M Pro, which was great because it didn't have a top feeding 4-tube system in the way, so that wasn't a problem. But with this, it doesn't work too well. So what I've done is actually printed it, modified the bracket slightly. I'll put that file on the description as well, and I've put a magnet on the bottom of it, and basically I can move it wherever I want, and then I can add another one around the rear. Because it's mounted at the side, and it's mounted off the side to where the camera faces, so the camera's at the front right corner and the LED light strips on the right top bridge face, it does give you better lighting from that perspective when you're printing and when you want to view your prints remotely from the camera, and the time lapses come up better as well. I'll show you a time lapse on the screen here just now, and you'll be able to see that for yourself. Like I said, it's never going to be the best visuals with these type of cameras, but you know, it's still quite good. Moving on from that, we've discussed a few other things. If we go back into, it does have power loss recovery, and it does have print resume, which is always handy. You can adjust the settings whilst you're printing and tune the speed manually within 10% increments, whereas some other printers I know you can only do that manually, like 100%, 50%, and so on. So that's a great thing. The actual spool holders themselves are spring-loaded, so that's great. So when you won't get loose spools because they are spring-loaded. So as it automatically, it has a feed buffer inside the IFS unit. When you feed the filament into the PDFE tube, it detects that on screen, tells you it's feeding the filament into the PDFE tube system and IFS, feeds it in, ready to go. So there's no issues there. When it retracts, because it has a retractable spool, spring-loaded, it doesn't create loose spools, which is a fantastic concept. If only they could include that in CFS box systems, you know, like Bamboo Labs, the Ace, Anycubic Ace Pro, the CFS from Creality, that would be awesome, but they haven't. So that's another thing as well. It's not heated chambered, so that's another thing. Obviously this printer is targeted at the entry level or budget, consumer minded, multicolor person who wants to get into multicolor printing, which I think is great. From my personal opinion, what do I think about it? Well, apart from the upgrades, there is one little thing before I go into the details and what I think about the printer, how well it prints, and what you can do with it. I will say that there is a couple of little things that I have found that no one's been able to give me answers on. Now, I went and bought the upgrades. Flashforge sent this printer out to me to review and test for them, which I'm grateful for, and I appreciate that. I then went and bought the enclosure kit, and I went and bought the camera, the LED system for it. I also bought the 2 HEPA filtration filters and the rear extraction fan. That's all great. I've put the camera system in, I've mounted, done the LED light, magnetic, moved the position. I put the HEPA filters in, which you will see on the time lapse. I've done a time lapse of that. You'll see probably around here somewhere. And I've put the 2 filters in, and I've taken the back panel off and gone to install the extraction fan so that when you've got an enclosure, you can filter out, you know, your fumes of the smells and fumes from your ASA, ABS, and so on from your filaments. But the problem with that is the port on the board for the controller for the extraction fan, there is only one port for either an LED light or a extraction fan. Now, most will say, oh, that's fine, just split the wire and put a switch or split the wire. Well, no, because then if you go into the slicer or if you go into the remote control system on you know, the Flash Maker or software, or whether it's online on a computer or even on the actual machine interface itself, you then don't have the ability to control the percentage of the fan. So you then have to manually do that in the actual slicer on your desktop or laptop. So you can't control the extraction fan percentage, whether it's 100 or 0, it's just on full blast all the time. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing, because if you're drawing air when you've got an enclosure on it, and you don't want to draw too much air because it's going to cause too much shrinkage when you're printing certain materials and draw heat away from the actual printing chamber itself, that's going to affect your prints. And so I haven't yet come up with a solution with that. The only option I have is to either have the LED light or to have the extraction fan. Now, there is an option to switch the fan off or on and the light on or off as well. The problem is that I'll show you a photo around here somewhere, that on the board there's a pin header for a extraction fan out and extraction fan in, but sorry, not pin header, there's a pin circuit, but there's no header for you to plug one into. So the header on the back is actually the fan controller, but in the slicer, when you plug the light into it, it's an on and off switch for the light. So I don't know what's going on there, whether that's a slicer situation, and it's obviously a situation where I'm pretty sure they're going to be bringing out a professional version, or like they did with the 5M, they brought out a 5M Pro. So that's to be honest, out of all the things, that's the only little gripe I have that I'm yet to get a workaround for. I've reached out to Flashforge to see what the alternatives to that is. because even if you wanted to mount it to a different port, like you can upgrade to an auxiliary side fan, so you've got that side auxiliary fan, there is a port for that, but the actual the board mount itself is a larger size connector port because it runs of a different voltage and amp, so that's not something you want to plug an LED light into, or a small extraction little exhaust fan. So that said, that is one of the only gripes I have with the machine. As far as print quality concerned, the bed, first layer bed printing, I'm not going to go through and show you, flexi layers of squared prints. People have done it 1,000 times. I can tell you though that it does print very well straight out of the box. And if you have any issues, I didn't have any warp issues at all with the bed, not one. Although I did have a little bit of too much squish, and I was able to, which is where the layer of the filament is just pressing down too much and under extruding as it's printing its first layer. And I was able to adjust that in the edit settings whilst it was printing quite easily, just with the up and down arrow on the Z offset, and that saved. It was perfect. So that was the only issue there. As far as print quality is concerned, you can print the 4 colors. I've done some models here. We'll get the other camera and we'll go and have a bit of a walk around. And yeah, so also one other thing to mention too is in the box you get this nice little envelope, which I think is pretty cool. Instead of just throwing a manual in a package, they give you this envelope, and the envelope comes with the instructions on how to change your ADX5 nozzle, which is quite handy. It's quite easy, to be honest. It's basically, the front cover's magnetic, so there's no clipping and trying to break clips, just magnetic straight off, and literally just one little wire and a magnetic flip, and that's it, done. So very, very easy in that regard. You just got to remember also to make sure that the heatsink clips back together over the nozzle. Also, you get your little thank you card, which I think is quite nice. And then you can scan the barcode on the back and it'll take you to the wiki page for Flashforge and give you all the information you need to know about the upgrades, what they're doing, the firmware, and all the possibilities of the printer. You also get your AD5X quick start guide as well. So they've pretty much given everything you need in the box as far as what you need to go to get started. I think the nozzle upgrade is a good addition. It does limit you, like I said, to only printing certain amounts of materials, but that said, it's not aimed at those high-end engineering grade materials for printing. It's aimed at the hobbyist who wants to multicolor print and wants to get good quality prints straight out the box. So with that said, let's dive around to the front and we'll have a look at some of the prints.
All right, so here we are with the prints from the AD5X. Now, as you can see, these are just stock standard profiles. This is a Wednesday character bust I just did, statue, whatever you want to call it. Now, this was done at 0.4 nozzle, 0.4, a little bit of layer on the top there, but overall, very good. No layer shifts, no VFA ringing, which was good, and the color transitions were great. A little bit of off spectrum on the eyes, but nothing to write home about. Overall, I was very happy with that. That was done, and that took a total of, I think it was around 9 hours. So not too shabby with a 0.4 nozzle at the standard 0.2 layer height. So not too bad at all. As far as wastage, I haven't gone through and done the wastage comparison yet, but just from a quality perspective, I was pretty happy with that one. So that's that one. I then did a smaller one just to see in skin color as far as the actual quality of the prints are concerned. As you can see from the reference point of my hand, the Wednesday character in this one's not too much bigger than my thumb. So from a small perspective and getting detail from a 0.4 nozzle, actually quite good. So pretty happy with that one as well, and that came out quite well. You can see on the back there and the hairline, that came out quite good. And that one took 4 hours, but that was done at a 0.12 layer height with three layers for the outer wall. So why 3 layers? Well, when I do these, I do them with my daughter, and she likes to play dolls and drop them around so they don't break. So yeah. As far as benches go, I'm not going to go into time lapses on benches. Apart from just the quality aspect, I did a multicolor bench, as you can see there. Quality is quite good. Some slight layer issues at the back, nothing too shabby. First layer was almost perfect. Probably give that a 9, 8.5, 9 out of 10. A little bit on the front of the boat, but that was with the stock profile untuned. So that's untuned from the stock Flashforge profile. Then I did another one with another multicolor, just trying out different filaments. These were Flashforge filaments, and I used a slightly different profile. Came out a little bit better. And then on top of that, I did my profile, which came out even better again. The front of the nose still needed a little bit of work, but that was due to speed settings and overhang settings. But apart from that, it was very good. So can't complain with that at all. No stringing. That was great. Now moving on, haven't done the ironing flow actual testing to get the best ironing settings, but I did a quick one on this one, a small Battlefield 6 logo. Don't want to give too much away. This is for something along the lines of what I'm designing for the AD5X enclosure, which is a military urban theme and then Battlefield 6 inspired. So that's for that. And then I went a little bit larger with the actual real color of the actual emblem of Battlefield 6 with the red, using the Flashforge colors, and came out quite well. Obviously, I've still got to get the ironing settings right. I've just got to load the test file that I've got just to get the right selection of the flow rates and speed for the better ironing finishes. But overall, I was pretty happy with that. First layer on the back of that was almost absolutely flawless. You have a look at that. There is no imperfections whatsoever at all. So no bed issues, no leveling issues, no contact issues, and no layer separations at all. From a textured build plate and first layer perspective, you could not get a better layer than that. So very happy with that as well. Moving on from there, I did do a number of key rings that I've done as well as giveaways that I'll be sending out to certain people. Once again, it's not perfect because the ironing settings haven't been dialed in, but I did it on a live stream when I was live streaming the other night. So that's those there. That took a total of, you'll be surprised, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. So ready for this? So there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 Battlefield 6 keychains ready to go, and boom. 4 hours, 53 minutes. So not too shabby at all. So pretty happy with that. So pretty happy with that indeed. So just quickly going through the menu, just to show you once again. You've got your menus there. You've got your spools. You've got your settings. And obviously you've got your Wi-Fi and your bed mesh, leveling, vibration compensation, extruder temperature calibration, and your camera settings as well. You've got your camera, video, image, and video files as well. So you can see that. And then you've got your system menu. So you've got your IFS update, your firmware update, your printer model, and so forth, English, and all the rest of the settings. And then you've got your screensaver and an IFS odometer, and your sound, which is like a little old school computer game, which is when it starts up. So that's that. There's the inside of it. That's the build plate. Subscribe to the channel. Check out my links. And yeah, that's pretty much the quality of the prints. You'd have to say that from a printer that's multicolor, 4-color, straight out of the box, I'd have to say for stock profiles, for the price that this is being advertised at and that you can get it for, can't really complain. The upgrades themselves, like I said, the camera is around $25 to $30 Australian. The LED light strip is next to nothing. It's like $7. The only gripe, like I said, I had is installing these fans, filters in here, and not having a port for the extraction fan dedicated. So I'm going to have to work out something with that as far as the fan versus the LED. So let's hop back around and we'll give you the overview of what I think. All right, so that's pretty much the Flashforge AD5X in a nutshell.
if you liked what you saw or you're impressed by the prints, I would have to say that the print quality on these, I have adjusted my profiles, and I dare say that I'll be able to get even better print quality out of this machine. I'll also be able to get better print quality at a faster speed as well. So I'm quite impressed, to be honest, for the price. You know, it does give you the options. Like I said, you know, you're not buying a fully enclosed printer that can, you know, with all the bells and whistles that you're paying, you know, over $1,000 for or close to or more. You're buying a machine where it's an open frame Core XY printer that can print 4 colors straight out the box, and if you want to, only if you want to, you can then buy the enclosure, which comes in at 99 Australian dollars, so convert that to US as you will, and you can print the components yourself. Now, they don't have to be printed in high temperature materials, because, you know, even my Lakers edition enclosure for my 5M, I did in PLA Plus, and it's stood the test of time, not a problem, because it's not the internal chamber of heating that affects it. It's on the outside of the steel frame, which doesn't change temperatures. That's completely fine, and you're not going to have your Core XY printer sitting outside in the rain or the sun, so no problems there at all. But you know, those options are there. Like I said, you've got the camera you can add on, the LED light. There is the issue of working out the positioning of the port as to the LED and the exhaust fan for the filtration if you do go down that enclosure route. That's the only issue I've actually found with the whole system. It could probably be resolved, like I said, if you're willing to split wires or run the 5 volt or 24 volt LED light strip off another port or the power board itself, and not have it switching on and off, so it's just on when you power it on all the time. That you could probably do, and then you'll have control of the rear exhaust fan, which if I can't find any other way of doing it, I'll probably end up going down that road. So apart from that, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it off, and a lot of people have mentioned that they're not happy about the power insert plug position for the lead on the back of the printer because it interferes with where the poop chute goes, and I'm going to show you something right now that is a perfect fix for that, and I'll put the listing and the person who created it down in the description below. And it's one of the best poop chutes you've probably seen on the back of a printer because it's so easy, it looks functional, it looks like it's part of the machine, and it solves the problem that everyone's complaining about. So let's flip this around and you'll be able to see for yourself. All right, so there she is. So a lot of people complain and say that you can't put a poop bucket there because the power point's there. Well, this solves the problem. Basically, I've printed this in PETG. You can print it in whatever you want. It's not going to be affected by temperature, although I would suggest at least PETG, not so much PLA, because you don't want the PLA being melted and pooping out the back and then sticking to the PLA itself in the container. But that said, this is great. You basically unscrew 2 screws on the back panel, then re-screw this plate back on. It's got a grooved sleeve, and quite simply, you've got yourself a square container, and it slides on like that, and it still enables you to put the power plug in and press the power button. Voila, problem solved. The actual size of this container, well, I will say this. I printed this Wednesday doll, those 3 benchies, this Battlefield 6 emblem, this Battlefield 6 emblem, and all those keychains, and that tub wasn't even 3/4 full. So if that says anything about the size of that, it's a great design. Hats off to the person who designed that. It's simple, it's effective, and I think it's probably one of the best poop chute buckets that I've seen. It doesn't take much to reach around to the left-hand side because it's offset, so it's easy to get to, and the ones that come around the side, they're very, very small, and who wants a small little poop thing that you have to change every hour or it overflows, because that's absolutely useless. So anyway, that's pretty much everything as far as the AD5X goes. You know, if you've liked what you've seen today, please smash that like button, subscribe. Anything helps so I can continue doing what I do. I don't get paid for this, so I spend a lot of time putting all this together, so I really appreciate it. I'd like to give a shout out to the members as well. Thank you for joining up. That's really appreciative. I will be doing lives once a week at least, Q&As to help people with their printing problems or advice on printers, materials, upgrades, etc. So thank you again to the members who've signed up. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, enabling me to continue what I do and provide you with the raw, honest truth and reviews and tutorials for everyone out there that I can help you with. So thank you again, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is the Flashforge AD5X, and little sneak one in there. I look forward to producing the military-inspired Battlefield 6 enclosure, which will be coming in a couple of weeks' time, and I'll be doing a little reveal video on that, probably a live stream build as well. It's going to take me about 120 to 150 hours of print time, but it's going to be well worth it. So that said, thanks for tuning in, guys. You've been great. Look forward to doing another one. I'm out. Cheers.